What's up, humans, and welcome to a new holiday Psicoactivo. This is the third video of the week while I take a little break with the wife in Mexico City. If you guys have been following my social media accounts, especially Instagram and Twitter, I've been posting some stuff there, so more to come. But today, I wanted to give you a pro tip and then also talk to you about this alleged psionics program from the government. That is, if it's a program, it's an unacknowledged special access program. And what I can tell you before I play you a clip is first one is pro tip. If you want to go and learn a lot about phenomenology in general, one of the best channels for conversations about this with specialists and with people who are like well known in the community is Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove's New Thinking Aloud. Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove is one of the first people who got a degree in parapsychology and American history, and he's been doing these interviews for decades now. It was first named Thinking Aloud. He interviewed everyone already. So in this one, last week, Dr. Mishlove had attorney Daniel Sheehan on the show. And it's like they've done multiple interviews at this point already. Sheehan opened up and talked about this psionics program and how his firm is now investigating the issue, especially when it comes to misconduct with children that were allegedly involved in the program. And this is one of the most sensitive topics out there, because if you think about it, psionics and psi abilities being actually real should be one of the most sensitive topics and the most guarded secrets about this whole thing. Because to me, and I've been saying this ad nauseum here already, I think that if we understand the true capabilities that we have, whatever the UFO phenomenon is won't really matter that much, because we will be in control of our own destiny and whatever happens to us. But that is not possible right now, because throughout millennia, these people with even like a fraction of these abilities that are demonstrated in any way have been historically persecuted, and in some cases even unalived. There are many examples throughout history of people who are like deemed witches or sorcerers, and they're either incarcerated for thinking differently or for having these abilities. To me, it's just a hypersensibility to the environment, and people who are hyper intuitive. That's really it. It and intuition goes to places where people can't even believe. That's what I've gathered based on stuff that has happened to me. It's not like I'm telling you this because I believe it. I'm telling you this because I've experienced stuff that make me understand that, yeah, there are people who are hypersensible to stuff that is already in the environment. And I can imagine that whenever these governments could identify people from a younger age, if they want to use them for as weapons or to pilot these things or for other purposes even, they would put up a system in which they can filter out the people that are like more susceptible to this and more sensitive to this. So here's Danny Sheehan on New Thinking Aloud talking about the Psionic Program and the issues that they face, his firm and the New Paradigm Institute. Here it is.
I can affirm that there have been some very serious problems with the regular trained pilots of our American military, because that's where they all come from. They all come from the United States Navy, F-18 Super Hornet fighter pilots, or Air Force trained people, and that they have a certain kind of rigid mindset that has been developed in them. and so it makes it especially difficult for these people to get into the more subtle dimensions of their consciousness. And so when they're pushed into a situation where they have direct contact with these vehicles, where that's sort of forced upon them, as you saw with Jake Barber, that this is a very disquieting experience, and that they become disoriented, they begin to have mental problems, and these translate into various psychological characteristics of the people, and they begin to suffer. But the reality is that it's become even more serious than that with some of the pilots. The care being taken for their own psychological health and for their physical health has been less than ideal inside those programs. And that was one of the reasons why they started looking to try to find younger children and train them and bring them up to be able to pilot these craft for them. But the problem is that they've also discovered that I need to be careful here, but that they've engaged in the utilization of certain drugs, amphetamines and stuff, to hyperdose their own pilots and even some of these younger children that have had extremely adverse consequences. This is part of what we're investigating now in cooperation with the Justice Department. We're trying to overcome some of the features of even our Justice Department, which is so designed for retribution or punishment, as a means of enforcing proper standards here. And we're trying to avoid doing that here because we're at one and the same time trying to be as compassionate and considerate as we can for people that have engaged in conduct that is highly questionable. But we also want to be thinking in terms of positive solutions for all of this. But there are some significant problems that have been encountered in this Psionics program up to this point. And we're going to work with people that are coming into the new administration and new leadership that's going to be in the Justice Department and in the intelligence community and in the military and in the State Department to try to solve these problems.
Yeah. So something that I can add to what Attorney Daniel Sheehan is saying here is that there are multiple efforts investigating this. It's not just the New Paradigm Institute. Another recent interview that Daniel Sheehan did on that UFO podcast, he let it slip there for a little while, and he revealed that the actual aerospace company that contracted Jake Barber is Northrop Grumman. And if Jake Barber is still friendly with this company, and this company was conducting these programs with possible misconduct against minors, that is really concerning. So I don't know if this is actually happening or not, but it is really important to learn how to discern who could be telling the truth and who isn't. And that is where things get really difficult with this specific topic of psionics, because it's been talked about for decades now. We know about the MK Ultra program. We know about the Stargate program. Those are, to me, seem intertwined. We know about efforts in other countries. We know that Jacobo Grimberg had the Mexican Institute of Consciousness, but similar programs have been happening in multiple countries throughout history. Right now, I can tell you that there are similar programs to that in places like France, Japan, some places in South America, some places in the UK, other places in Europe, definitely Russia. Russia and the US are the ones that have been doing it the longest. And honestly, I don't think they ever stopped. So who knows what they can do now? And who knows what type of abilities they have identified by this point from humans. So I guess that we have to be really careful of how we approach this topic specifically, but the fact that it is now out in the open should be a matter of celebration, because it means that the overall conversation is shifting, and now it's become a little less dangerous to talk about this in public, because there's a lot of people now talking about it. Whether you want to believe it or not, I get the reticence from people who don't believe it. I guess they will have to be shown some proof or evidence. And I don't think that's really that difficult. But yeah, people who see the evidence need to be open minded and need to understand that it is not going to be magical or like science fictiony as they probably imagine. I think that these abilities or skills are more conspicuous than you might imagine. We're like constantly doing it, constantly using these abilities, but it's so seamless now with people that we just consider it just everyday life. Intuition is one of them, So I think that we are on the right path when it comes to this, and I don't think there's a way back really. More and more is going to keep coming out, and more skepticism is going to be around. But I think that a moment will come when it's going to just be impossible to ignore and impossible to deny. But that's just how I feel. Let me know how you feel. What do you think about Danny Sheehan's statements? And what do you think about these efforts from different law firms now coming forward and investigating these programs? Were you ever part of a program like that? The GATE program is pretty big, and it was instituted in many schools around the country. So I would be interested to know what your experience was like if you were part of it. Whenever the time is right, I will let you know what program I encountered when I was younger through my mother, coincidentally. So I will let you know what that program was about. But I think all programs that are similar to that essentially cover the same aspects. They cover how you view reality as a whole. They cover the abilities that we have as humans, both intuitive and healing abilities as well, and abilities of perception as well, and how we use our, let's call them powers of creation. Let's call them that. But it's a really complex topic for those of us who don't really know it that well at the beginning. But I'll do my best to explain it, and I'll do my best to stay away from the words woo and new agey stuff, because I don't think that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a different type of science that it is not accepted as science right now. But I do believe that it's real. I've been communing with it for the majority of my life. You can ask my mother. Granted, I used to be very judgmental about it, but now that I'm doing this, a lot of things are falling into place, and I realized that much of that was actually real. And it's still pretty shocking to me when I realize everything that I've gone through and all the people that have gone through this as well and learned about this. It's pretty exciting. But yeah, it's more normal than you might think. Let me know. Give me all the details. And that's it for me on this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. But remember, if you like it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can get notified when new video drops. You can share the content anywhere you like. You can also be part of our members channel, and you can be part of the KGRA family, listening to Psicoactivo interviews right there. Links are in the description. Thank you for the support, everyone. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video for video number 4 of my vacation. Remember to stay curious, people. It's very important. Okay? Bye.